Peterson. Nurnberg. Schroer. Weber.
All right, a quorum being established, we're going to move into hearing of House bills. Let me look at my print off. We're going to go in order. Well, is Representative Chappell here? No. All right, well, we're not going to go in order. We're going to go in reverse. So, Representative Irwin, you may begin when you're ready. We're hearing House Committee Substitute for House Bill 2913 and 3228.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senators, good morning. I'm Bill Irwin from District 55, which is in Cass County, and I share that district with a couple other great folks. I'm pleased to present House Bill 2913 and its companion 3228 of the lady from the Steinhoff District in Columbia, Missouri, for your consideration. This bill was developed after consulting with some local school teachers who were afraid to protect themselves or their students in the classrooms due to the threat of possibly being suspended or fired. Teachers are responsible for the safety of their students in their classroom. Actions to safeguard themselves and their students, including judicious application of force to quell potential violence or aggressive behavior from students or staff on school premises, should be permissible but not mandatory. Teachers, while functioning as an employee of a school district, should be authorized but not mandated to intervene in violent situations to protect themselves or others while being held harmless for their reasonable protective actions to prevent disruptive or aggressive behavior. Schools shall not put in place any policies to prevent teachers from protecting themselves or their students from assault. This bill passed out of the House with a 100% vote of yes, and it has no fiscal note. That is, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'll thank you, Representative, for this bill. So my sister works at an area school district in Cass County, and why this is so necessary. So they have had to adopt a policy due to liability to where if a kid or these sorts of things become like crazy in a lunchroom, instead of apprehending that kid and subduing that kid, they have to evacuate the entire lunchroom where kids aren't able to finish their lunches, and that kid just has the full capability to just throw the fit and go crazy, as opposed to like when I went to school, a teacher would have apprehended and then everybody would have went on business as usual. But so it's unfortunate we have to come to these sorts of bills, but I think they're absolutely necessary given our current state. So thank you for the bill. Any questions? See none. Thank you. Anyone to testify? You stay there. Anyone to testify in support? Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Otto Fajan on behalf of Missouri NEA. We are supportive of the bill in the House. We continue to have our support for the bill. We appreciate the sponsors, both sponsors bring this forward and trying to make sure that there is some clarity in terms of the status where teachers, if they need to intervene. I will point out that we still think that there could be occasions where a consequence, if a teacher does intervene when it's necessary, there could still be the consequence that there's an anonymous hotline call. You know, if you lay hands on a student, that still could be a consequence under Chapter 210, which might involve investigation. There might have to be, somebody placed on leave. So there are still potential consequences. That's harder for you all, I think, to address without doing harm to the function of Chapter 210. But at least in terms of civil immunity, this is a big step forward, and so we support the bill. Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none.
Anyone
else testify in support?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Mike Harris on behalf of the Missouri State Teachers Association go on record in support of this bill. Like Otto said, we think this is just good common sense legislation to protect our teachers when they do have to intervene in physical altercations in the school. Happy to take any questions. Thanks.
No, thank you very much. Any questions? Seeing none. Anyone else to testify in support? Okay. In opposition? Okay, see none. Any informational purposes? Okay, see none. Closing remarks?
Thank you so much for listening to this.
No, thank you very much. That'll conclude the hearing on House Bill 2682, or no, excuse me, 2913 and 3228. We're going to move to Representative Chappell, 2682. Representative, begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senators of the committee, I apologize for my tardiness. I wasn't aware we had moved hearing rooms, so I apologize for that. I was standing outside the locked...
It was last minute. I do apologize.
No. It was my fault entirely, but I was standing outside the locked room and wasn't sure why no one else was there. I thought everybody else was late, but apparently it was me. House Bill 2682 is the Speaks Act, and we passed a similar legislation last year after a decade or more of effort. Senator Hudson's bill on giving freedom of speech and in matters of religious, political, ideological perspectives at the universities and college systems. The Speaks Act simply takes the same methodology and applies it to the public schools as well. It was already in law in the state of Missouri that school children had freedom of religion and that schools are not allowed to interfere with the efforts therein. This simply expands it to political and ideological perspectives. It says that individual students who formulate clubs may do so without interference, and that school board policies may not compel them to accept individuals with disparate views as members or leadership. It certainly doesn't exclude anybody, but it's not a compulsory thing. It also states that if individuals are disruptive, or if they hold positions or views that are inherently offensive, there'd be no bullying tolerated by any of this. And it just simply recognizes that the First Amendment does indeed apply to school children. They do not lose their capacity simply because they cross the schoolhouse threshold. Be happy to take any questions.
Thank you for the bill. Any questions? See none. Thank you very much. Anyone to testify in support? Please come forward. Okay. Anyone to testify in opposition?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Otto Fajan on behalf of Missouri NEA once again. We spoke, this is substantially similar to the language that was heard earlier in this committee, sponsored by Senator Hudson. And the nature of our objections and our concerns relate to the differences between what was done last year in higher education and what this bill does. For K-12 education, of course, we're not necessarily and generally not talking about adults, but we already had existing law that this puts political and ideological expression into that doesn't exist at the individual level for higher education students. It does include stuff about student organizations, but then it also has entirely new provisions about lawsuits, subsections 11, 13, and 14, I believe, that are not contained in the higher education provision and really raise, from our perspective, questions about whether this state procedural mandate might make it harder for schools when they're having their policies to balance student expression and the need to maintain a safe and workable environment for learning, that the fact that there is these much stronger provisions about civil lawsuits might affect that, or might either to affect their ability to be effective in implementing those policies, or divert resources into litigation. And either way, we think it may have an effect on student attendance and the ability to maintain staff and teachers and other staff. So the differences from what was done last year are primarily our technical concerns about the bill. Happy to answer questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions? See none. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else to testify in opposition? Okay, see none. Informational purposes only. All right, see none. Representative, any closing remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would submit that if school districts don't violate the First Amendment's rights that are herein enshrined in this law for school children. If they don't do that, there is no problem. Further, I would remind us that at the university and college system, those individuals are not being educated there compulsorily. We compel children to go to school. And therefore, that being the case, they are in a situation where they are under government control, and the government is not permitted to infringe on those the security that they need to be able to formulate their ideas and express their very inner self in a way wherein they are not afraid of some policy that's created by individuals in the school board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That'll conclude the hearing. I make a motion that we go into executive session. We have a second. We are in executive session. All right. I make a motion that we bring up House Committee substitute for House Bill 2913 and 3228. We have a second. It is now before the body. Let me make sure I get to this bill. There was a substitute distributed for this bill. Did everybody receive that substitute? I think we did. Okay. So this adds what or I make a motion that we bring up and adopt the Senate Committee substitute for House Committee substitute for House Bill 2913 and 3228. I have a second discussion on that. So the changes in this, I'm sure you guys have looked at this. It adds the presidential fitness standards that they're trying to promote to the bill, as well as the immunity for the bathroom policies and these charters. So that's what's added to this bill that we just heard. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Yeah, that's what I meant. I apologize if I misspoke. Any questions or comments? See none. I may make a motion that we voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. We have adopted the substitute. I move that Senate Committee substitute for House Committee substitute for House Bill 2913, 3228 do pass. I have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Bratton,
Aye.
Hudson, Gregory, Henderson, Nurnberg, Schroer, Weber.
By your vote of 5 to 0, 2 absent, the motion passes. All right, I make a motion that we bring up House Committee substitute for House Bill 2682. All right, have a second. Okay, let me go. 2682. Where in the world is this? Is it? That's what I was saying now. Oh, gotcha. Okay, that's what I was like, what in the world? All right, I apologize for that. Okay, there has been a substitute that has been distributed. It also has basically the same provisions that were added to the last substitute into this, rolling into this bill. Any discussions on that? Okay, all right. I make a motion that we adopt the substitute. Have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say no. We have adopted the substitute. I move that Senate Committee substitute for House Committee substitute for House Bill 2682 be due pass. Second. I have a second. Any discussion? See none. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Bratton,
Aye.
Hudson, Gregory, Henderson, Nurnberg, Schroer, Weber.
All right, by your vote of 5-0, the motion passes. I make a motion that we bring up, take up House Committee substitute for House Bill 2335. I have a second. I move that we adopt the Senate Committee substitute for House Committee substitute for House Bill 2335. I have a second. So this, we've added to the same provisions to this substitute. Is there any discussion on that? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of adopting the substitute signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. We've adopted the substitutes. I move that Senate Committee substitute for House Committee substitute for House Bill 2335 is do pass. A second. Any discussion? See none. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Bratton,
Aye.
Hudson, Gregory, Henderson, Nurnberg, Schroer, Weber.
By your vote of 5-0, the motion passes. I make a motion that we move out of executive session. Second, we are out of executive session. I make a motion that we adjourn. We are adjourned.